Right, it is time to turn back to GAA, but a GAA story of a different kind and perhaps of a more important kind, because Na Fianna face losing 75% of their facilities for up to a decade on Mulvey Road. OTB's Darren Cleary has been out to the club, and here is his report.
I'm here at Na Fianna GAA Club in Dublin reporting for Off the Ball. 3,000 members call Na Fianna home. It's home to over 125 competitive teams, and this week the club was rocked with the news that everything here in front of me and behind me, this main pitch and two all-weather pitches, have been requisitioned as part of a plan to build the Metro Link. We're here to talk to members to find out their concerns and their fears as their club is now fighting for survival. What has the last couple of days been like?
They've been tough. I mean, I was in Sculmovey there behind us. We grew up here, we played on the pitches, we hung around as teenagers on the pitches. Sarah's about to have a child that we'd hope would have the same life and great times that we had here in the community, and we don't know what's going on. There's such an uncertainty here. We're hoping it won't happen, but we just don't know. So it's been tough the last couple of days.
And Sarah, I get the sense from talking to people that it's more than just kind of pitches. If you could sum up what the area is, could you do that in a couple of words?
This has been our whole life. As Aidan said, we grew up here, but our whole friendship group is here, our whole social circle is here. We socialise here every weekend. We go to every match possible just because we love it that much. And to think in 4 years' time that this little baby or a little child won't have the same nursery facilities that are here at the moment is just so sad. It's just not okay.
It's actually been a bit traumatic. I'm a member here for 40 years. I saw this club before this building was here. I saw it before the All-Weathers were here. I've seen the club thrive. I've seen it thrive. This is absolutely, this is a kick in the guts. This has ripped us apart. Well, I won't say ripped us apart, but it has absolutely, it's been a kick in the guts is the best way of phrasing it.
Been described as tearing the heart and soul out of the community. What does it mean? Can you put into words how or why this could potentially tear Na Fianna's heart and soul out?
I don't think you'll ever tear the heart and soul out of Na Fianna. We will build, but it's just look at the kids that are here today. My kids are here. I came across one of the girls that I used to babysit for her as I was growing up. Now she's going to be living on my road, and my kids will babysit her kids. I have 3 kids in this club. I want them to have the same experience as I had. This club is part and parcel of my life, and I want that for other children here. That's why I'm involved here on a Saturday morning on a voluntary basis. That's why I train teams. It's all about passing on what this club has given us.
It's a disaster, and you know that it's not going to be for just 3 weeks or 3 years. You know it's going to be at least 6, maybe 10, and that'll be devastating for the club. And when you look around, where are all these children going to go on a Saturday morning with no other grounds?
It's a disgrace. And there are alternatives. They're always talking about underground. There's plenty of place around here for an underground train if they have to have it, which I don't think they do have to have it. We have a lot of transport all around the whole city. I think that those who are planning these things should come out, spend 3 months of the year in the vicinity, be part of the locality, and see the damage they're doing. They can't see this by sitting in an office chair and looking at a map. That's not good enough. It's human beings they're thinking of. We are thinking of them, but they're not thinking of human beings. They're not thinking of the future of these children.
Johnny is as approachable here, like as any of the rest of us, or as any of the players. And there is something very special. Johnny came down yesterday evening, and he was fixing nets at the back of one of the goals, for instance, and suddenly he was swamped by some of his fan base, and that's the type of guy he is. And Johnny is a wonderful example of sort of what's come through this club. And he's been playing here. He started here probably in the nursery himself, and he's worked his whole way through. So, you know, are we to lose certain potential Johnny Coopers along the way as a result of this change? Because, I mean, you know, people will say, look, it's only 7 years that we'll be without pitches or whatever. Yeah, 7 years. But 7 years is a generation.
We need additional pitches. We are struggling right now my facilities committee with the grounds committee developed a new pitch in our grounds up in Collinstown near the airport. We have another 3 acres up there full of trees and scrub that we also want and need to develop. So we're looking for more pitches. We're not in the business of giving back pitches. We are struggling for pitches.
The sense of scale here sometimes is a challenge to communicate. Along with our membership, we interact on a weekly basis with 10 primary schools in our local community. We serve those 10 primary schools and we pay our membership funds the support for those 10 primary schools in their physical education. So
Could that not be done if you were on a different pitch? If you were up in a green space, if you're up in, say, Abbottstown, if you're in Johnstown Park, if you're in St Vincent School, do you need this green space in particular to engage with those 10 local schools?
This strikes fundamentally to the heart of what the concept of Gaelic games, what the concept of Cumann Lúthchleasac Gael is about. Cumann Lúthchleasac Gael is about locality. It's about attachment to a sense of place. It's about a pride in your local community. It's about your locality. We're not about finding a space outside of the M50 where people need to be bused to, where our children to be ferried at. We operate best when we sit at the heart of our local community.
Yeah, Darren Cleary there reporting for Off the Ball, and you can catch the full report, around 12 to 15 minutes of that on YouTube. It's available now. And Darren Cleary joins us now in studio. Good morning to you, Darren.
Good morning, Owen.
I used to live on Mulvey Road, and I can tell you Na Fianna is probably the busiest GAA club in the country. They're the busiest one I've ever seen, particularly on a Saturday morning, and you were out there on Saturday morning. It's very hard to put into kind of context just how crazy that place is and the amount of kids who depend on that place for their Gaelic games.
Yeah, it's a sight to behold. I think over the last few days we've heard the reaction, and it's all been branded Na Fianna this, Na Fianna that, but there's a very human element to the club. You saw there a kid picking up a hurler of football for the first time, and one of the founding members, Paddy King, very, very different scales of the age bracket. So it is very much a club that caters for all ages and all levels. It's something you have to witness to really get a sense of it, and I hope that's what we did to try and convey what it means to people. And there is genuine concern and alarm here, just given the fact that they've been told that they risk losing Mulvey Road, which it must be pointed out that while they do play in a lot of pitches, and a lot of people will look at Na Fianna and say, Na Fianna play all over the city, why do they need this particular pitch? Put them in one of the many council pitches they use, which is true. They use Benevan, they use St Vincent School, they have their facilities up in Collinstown as well. But Mulvey Road is the only one they actually have any kind of control over. They can book it, they can choose when they play on it, they have full control over it. While at the council pitches, they're at the mercy and the good graces of the council, allowing them to use those pitches. So it is a sizable impact to lose 3 of the 4 pitches in that facility, which would in essence shut down the nursery, which I think when we were there had over 250 kids on Saturday, perhaps more, at all levels of the game starting out.
What are the chances of this thing actually happening? There's obviously been a lot of lobbying happening over the last 7 days, and we're actually in the very early stages of this because they didn't hear about it until around Paddy's weekend. So it's very hard to get a gauge right now of how likely this thing is to be stopped. But from what you heard on Saturday, is the mood optimistic?
The mood is a little bit fearful. I think they were caught on the hop. They were shocked. The first they heard about it was the bank holiday Friday. The chairman was actually in Zambia on doing some charity work, and he got a call at 4:30 before Paddy's weekend to say, there's some implications for you and your club and an announcement we'll be making next week. When can we sit down? And he was kind of caught on the hop and wasn't expecting this call. So they scheduled a meeting which happened on the Tuesday before the government announcement on the Thursday, and only then did the full scale of what was happening was it made known to the Na Fianna executive, who then had 24 hours to brief their members that if this does go ahead, this is what we risk losing. It's hard to say at this moment in time what will happen. They're alarmed. I wouldn't say it's optimism at the moment. They haven't quite got there yet. They're trying to rally, they're trying to put on a united front and do anything they can really to formulate some kind of plan. Lobbying would be very important. They have the full backing of the GAA, which I think is crucial. The GAA have also expressed disappointment with how little notice Na Fianna got, less than 48 hours before being told they're going to lose 75% of their grounds for a period of between 3 and 6 years, which could be, by best estimates, up to 10, as early as 2020. So at the moment, the optimism hasn't kicked in just yet because they've had very little time to process this news.
Have they had any meetings? Have they had any discussions? Because as we talk about this, and even the people in the club talk about this, there's an awful lot we don't know.
There's an awful lot we don't know, and I think that's the problem. The fear comes from the absence of information and people not quite knowing if this is the last plan that the NTA arrived at or whether this was their first plan. it's hard to know as well where to go, because if it doesn't go through Na Fianna, it's not really logical to shift it 50 metres across the road, because you've got a row of houses there on Movie Road where Owen mentioned he lived at one time, resided. The other side as well, there's houses too, so you're kind of caught between a literal rock and a hard place. Do you plough through the club or do you plough through houses? It's very, very difficult. I think at the moment the members will be briefed on Thursday night. That's a kind of information evening. But at this particular point in time, I think they're trying to assess all their options before deciding what they can do.
Now, pardon me for being cynical. We are at an early stage. They've been told about this and they haven't taken it in yet. I appreciate that. But is there a potential for Na Fianna to actually make something out of this? If they lose their grounds through a CPO or whatever it's called, can they say, yeah, okay, we'll move for a while, but you have to make it worth their while, or you have to buy us new facilities, or we have to get something tangible out of this? Is there any suggestion that there could actually be a positive element to this?
It depends on what level they're engaged at by the government and the people who are spearheading the project. I'm not so sure they want to turn this negative into a positive. They very much, from the sense I got speaking to people, just leave us alone. We've worked very hard to put our pitches together. We've got 2 all-weather pitches that are state-of-the-art while not full size. And we've got our main pitch, which is the Pride and Joy and the nursery and youth development, very, very important for them.
There's the potential for growth. At the moment, it sounds like they don't have the facilities to match the demand. And I appreciate that greenfield sites where they are might be difficult to come by, but it sounds like they need a bit of something, and this could be the opportunity.
We got there a little bit earlier. The last day, Niall McGrath did the edit on the video and shot the video. We got there a little bit early. And the striking thing for me in the first half an hour there were how many of the kids strolled in, walked in. The GAA is very much about the locality. Your local club, pride of place. It is the hub of the community for people as young as 4 to people as old as 80, 85. And I just think if you lift it up, it's not an American football franchise. You can't just take it up and move it 10 miles down the road and it will still retain what it's meant to be. I think when you look at the kids, you see them actually strolling up and arriving there. Like, kids at all ages, if they have that local community, they will aimlessly go there. They will never make a plan. They'll just show up at the pitches and hang around there all day. That's what people of a certain age do. That's what I'm sure you did in your local GAA club and Owen yourself. So I think, well, I'm sure they will be accommodated if they're going to move them, but I don't think you can replace what they have. I think the sense I get from the club and speaking to people there, it's not about pitches, it's not about lines on the pitch, it's not about goals, it's about that being the centre and the hub of their community.
Yeah, absolutely, and I think that's something that we certainly found last week in Dublin 8 as well, that it didn't matter that they could travel to a GAA pitch. It was, I guess, the problems that people can run into if they don't have a parent that's able to drive them however many miles to actually get to that pitch. So it's a very valid point. It's a great piece of work. As I say, you should check out the full report. It's available on YouTube now, and if you've got any comments at all, you can tweet us at Off The Ball, or you can follow us on Facebook and YouTube as well.